Welcome back to the Toffee Booze, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing you the starting 11 show for Everton versus Brentford on Saturday at Goodison Park. So let's get straight into it and starting in goal. Obviously, we know who Sean Dyche is going to pick for this game. It's going to be Jordan Pickford in goal. He had a good international break, made a few decent saves against Greece, kept England in the game really, which let them go on to win the game in Athens. And I think he had a really good game there. And then if you look before the international break as well, he was our best player against West Ham in that 0-0 draw at the London Stadium. So I think he's definitely put his difficult start to the season behind him. Obviously, there was a few question marks, especially from Dyche as well, in the first 5-10 games of the season where he was questioning Jordan Pickford and his performances. But he's definitely put that behind him now, and he's looking like his old best. And why obviously the reason why he's England's number one and Everton's number one is because of that. So yeah, Jordan Pickford in goal, that was probably the easiest one to predict what Sean Dyche is going to do. But then moving into the defence, I think Vitaly Mykolenko will start at left back. We just need to see a little bit more from him this season, don't we? I'm stereotypically quite a big defender of Vitaly Mykolenko. I have been for some time. I know people have their opinions on him going forward, but if you take the going forward aspect, I know in the modern game it's a big thing going forward as a fullback, but he is quite a decent, solid defensive fullback. So if you look at that, he does his job well in a Sean Dyche system, for example, because Dyche doesn't really like his fullbacks overlapping too much. But could it be potentially tweaked a little bit more tactically to let him go forward and maybe show what he can do? I'm not so sure, but he does sometimes look a little bit scared to overlap the winger. But yeah, just can we see a little bit more from him? He hasn't started great this season, but yeah, I think there's not really much choice we've got at left back. I think there's no competition for places there. But yeah, moving into the two centre halves, I think Branthwaite and Tarkowski will regain their partnership. Obviously, Branthwaite is now fully fit. He did withdraw from England over the international break. I know he went out there to make up the numbers in the squad, but then withdrew a couple of days later after them assessing him. So I think that was quite positive to see that England were actually managing him well and sent him back to Everton knowing that he wasn't fully fit, just to try and let him regain that full fitness. And then obviously James Tarkowski alongside him. Hopefully we can see them regain that partnership and see the form that they had towards the back end of last season. Hopefully see that to start to kick on in this season now and try and push us up the table and keep more clean sheets. But if you look at the game against West Ham, that was the first real time they've played together in a number of months, and we got a clean sheet. So that's definitely a positive to take from that game, even though we were shocking going forward. Yep. So moving into right back, I think Ashley Young will be played there. He's quietly been our best fullback this season. I think a lot of people wrote him off towards the back end of last year, and obviously he's ticking towards 40 now. So I think people were willing to cut him a little bit of slack considering how old he is, but. Yeah, he's provided some good assists this year. Obviously, the one for Beto against Fulham to rescue a point late on, but also the assist for Iliman Ndiaye away at Leicester. I think that was a great pass to pick him out there, and obviously Ndiaye slotted towards the keeper's right hand side. I think, as I said before, Young is quietly going about his business as our best fullback this year, so I think Dyche will entrust him on Saturday to play him at right back. Yeah, so that's the defence. Moving into midfield, I think Orel Mangala will be the first midfielder to play in centre midfield. I thought he was good against West Ham. I think he had a decent game. He's turned out to be a decent signing from Lyon on loan for the season. Obviously, with all their financial predicament going on down there at Lyon, can we potentially nick him for a small fee next summer or in January? Who knows? But I think he has been a good signing so far, and he was good against West Ham. He was probably one of our best outfield players in my opinion. And then alongside him, I think Dyche will play Idrissa Gana Gueye. I'm hoping they can form a little bit of partnership. As I was talking about with Branthwaite and Tarkowski, I think partnerships in this Everton team to stay solid, I think it's a very big aspect of this team. So hopefully they can form a little bit of a partnership now. And obviously with Tim Iroegbunam and James Garner still out injured with their respective longer term injuries, I think this will probably be the partnership that we see for the foreseeable future. So hopefully they can build together and maybe work on a little bit more of a partnership in that midfield. But as I said before, I think both of them played okay against West Ham. So it's showing we're getting more of a solid base in midfield and also defence. So, there's definitely positives to take from that. And then moving into the number 10 role, obviously Dwight McNeil has had his fitness issues, and then Abdoulaye Doucouré came in for West Ham. I think Dwight McNeil will be played in that number 10 once again. Obviously he's fully fit now, got over those injury issues before the international break. I think Dyche will look to play him at that number 10. I think obviously there's been some comments surrounding Iliman Ndiaye yesterday in Dyche's press conference, which I think have ruffled a few feathers and maybe caused a little bit of a stir. But I do think Dyche will play Dwight McNeil centrally. Obviously, he's got some decent stats from the start of the season. He's got a few goals, a few assists. So I think there's definitely a case for him to play there. But I think if you watch the game and watch how he plays, I think just you feel like Illiman and Jai is shoved out on the left wing and he's maybe isolated a little bit and maybe not affecting the game as much as he could do. Whereas Dwight McNeil maybe is more comfortable on the left hand side. I'm not so sure, but I do think Dyche will play Dwight McNeil in that number 10. And then moving into the front three, I've talked about him already. Illiman and Jai, I think he will be played off the left hand side. Personally, I want him centrally. I think it's now time for Illiman and Jai to play centrally. Obviously, there was a very strange comment yesterday from Sean Dyche in his press conference saying that, there's no evidence to suggest that Illiman and Jai's best position is central behind the striker and playing in that number 10. But obviously, if you look at his stats when he was at Sheffield United, the best of his days and the best of his performances were played in that number 10 behind the striker. And if you look at Marseille and hearing the feedback from Marseille fans in his year there, they played him off the left and he was pretty isolated, pretty ostracized on that left hand side. So I think, I don't really agree with Dyche's comment. I think there's definitely a case to play Illiman and Jai in that central role, but I do think he'll play off the left hand side in Dyche's team on Saturday. And listen, we know what kind of player he is. He is a fantastic player. He's so skillful, so bright on the ball, and it's the first time in years I've actually been positive going to Everton games and wanting to watch a player like that. So I think it's I'd love to see him centrally, but I do think Dyche is going to play him off the left hand side on Saturday. And moving on to the right hand side, I think Jack Harrison will start. I think Dyche will look to use Jack Harrison. Obviously, Brentford are a very attacking team. They come out of the box flying most days. I think there was a mad stat where they scored in the first minute 3 weeks in a row or 4 weeks in a row. So, any Soccer Saturday challengers will have loved West London in that sense. But yeah, I do think Dyche will look to have more defensive cover. I think Brentford are a very attacking team. They will come, full pelt at us from minute one. So I do think Dyche will look to have more defensive cover in the form of Jack Harrison and maybe look to sit back a little bit more, which again, is that the tactic at home? I'm not so sure, but I do think Dyche will look to do that rather than use Jesper Lindström, who is a little bit more pacey, a little bit more attacking, maybe a little bit more dangerous and a little bit more of a risk. But I don't think Dyche likes to take risks, and that's just what we have to live with, unfortunately. And then moving into the striker, obviously it seems to be a contentious one sometimes. There is a few debates on who should start up front. I think obviously with Yusuf Chermiti and Armando Broja, they're getting close to full fitness. I think this will become a lot more contentious in the coming weeks. And obviously this week it's only the choice between DCL and Beto, but I do think Dominic Calvert-Lewin will start on Saturday over Beto. Obviously Beto's been doing okay coming on as a super sub in some games, but if you're looking at the wider context of the game, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin will probably start. I think Dyche likes to use Dominic Calvert-Lewin as that battering ram. Just his aerial ability is better than Beto, so I do think that will be the tactic on Saturday and using Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. But that is the starting 11. I'll just run through it one more time. Jordan Pickford in goal, Vitaly Mikolenko, Jared Branthwaite, James Tarkowski, and Ashley Young as your back four. Oro Mangala and Idrissa Gana Gueye as your two midfielders, with Dwight McNeil in the number 10, Illiman and Jai off the left, Jack Harrison off the right, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front as the lone striker. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think Dyche is going to go with something different? Could he potentially switch formation? Could he potentially switch tactics? Is there a difference in personnel? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.